Hello everyone, my name is Loco and welcome to Master of Orion. Now Master of Orion is a series of games, however, this is going to be the 2016 edition of it. You may have heard of the title before. The very first one actually came out back in 1993, which is quite literally a year after I personally was born. But this is a science fiction turn-based strategy game that is going to be a direct sequel to the other ones. Now, this is going to be a actual sponsored video as well. I do want to be 100% straight up with you. I do want to be honest in that sense. The developers reached out to me and asked if I wanted to go ahead and create a video about the Master of Orion title. However, this is something I personally wanted to check out anyway because, hey, it's a strategy game, it's science fiction, I love that sort of thing. Particularly a huge StarCraft nerd myself, and I decided to go ahead and agree on it. However, I do want to be very clear as well. I am obviously not going to be selling out in this regard. I am going to give you my honest and actual opinion about the game. So, this is currently in early access, and that is pretty important because there's definitely still content that will be added on over time, over development. Right now, you can go ahead and already go ahead and play it, but it doesn't include all of the things yet. Now, Master of Orion is a 4X game, and basically what that means is that it's all about exploration, expanding, exploiting, and exterminating. And the way you do that is by selecting your race and going up against the others. There's several ways to obtain victory. We'll go over that in just a little bit. However, we got a nice little introduction for all of the different kinds of playable races. This one kind of, speaks to me personally, a huge fan of the Zerg and StarCraft. However, today we are gonna go ahead and play the Terran.
It was during the darkest times of human history that the age of the Khans dawned. All over their homeworld, civil unrest was mounting as society crumbled under the weight of deviancy, corruption, and greed.
Now, all of the races in the game got different kinds of traits and different kinds of benefits. So we're gonna be a Terran that basically is like, a subspecies of humans right here, and we're hard, determined, and violent. Now, basically, we got several traits here that will allow us to diversify the actual game. So, depending on what race you start off with, you will get different kinds of benefits and different kinds of advantages. Now, you can only go ahead and play the Terran if you actually do own the Collector's Edition. It also does include like the Master of Orion 1, 2, and 3 games, like the original titles, as well as like a soundtrack, some pixelated art, and some other things as well. But if you're interested in checking out the Collector's Edition, I'll leave a link to that right below in the description of the video. Now, one thing to note while we head into the next screen right here is that there's sadly no campaign available. So we're gonna have to jump straight into the match that we do want to go ahead and play. So I'm gonna create a galaxy right here that's gonna be small, it's gonna be average of age, and I guess we'll go with a normal difficulty. As far as AI opponents goes, I think 3 should be just fine. And if you find a really cool map that you enjoy playing, or you're talking to your friends and you want to, go ahead and, copy the same galaxy that they are playing, you can go ahead and just basically scramble here for a seed or just put one in that you personally really like. So let's say we want to play this one. That works as well. Or you can obviously randomize it. On top of that, there are several advanced options that you can actually decide to go for. So there, like I said, are several ways you can obtain victory. Let's say we don't want to have a diplomatic victory, we can go ahead and just simply disable that, and that way that simply won't be one of the options. Next up, we can also go ahead and change the race of the opponents that we're going up against. In this case, those are going to be, just computer opponents, just AI, but you can also go ahead and play online and play against other people. Now, I'm happy with these settings, so let's get started.
After centuries of strife and misery, the age of the Khans began. It was a time of great struggle when dire circumstances called for radical solutions under ruthless and unwavering leadership. The price was dear, but through the iron rule of the Khans, mankind survived. Having pacified their home world of Alpha Ceti, the Terran Khanate now seeks to expand its territories to secure the rightful place of humans in the galaxy until the end of time.
Alrighty, so welcome to our galaxy. Now this is going to be the solar system that we are currently at. However, if you zoom out just a little bit, you can see all these stars basically indicating where different kinds of solar systems are going to be at and which ones we can go ahead and explore. Now notice, this is actually considered to be a small galaxy, right? So that does mean that there's gonna be all kinds of exploration that you can do, and that is exactly what this game is gonna be all about. So we start off with one little planet right here, and that planet is gonna be called, in our case, Alpha Ceti number 2. And that is obviously gonna be our home world, our main planet. Now it looks like we have sort of started off on the outskirts here, but I actually like this positioning. If you're too far in the middle, obviously there's a big chance that you will, you know, face your opponents much earlier on into the game than we ideally want to. Now the very first thing that we obviously need to do is go ahead and explore the systems. So currently we got several ships right here that we can go ahead and select. My current fleet has a colony ship, a scout, another scout, and then also a frigate. And basically I can use all of these different ships to decide where I want to be headed next. So it's pretty important to make a solid decision here, so you're not gonna be, you know, flying all over the place, wasting a ton of time. But basically moving around does cost you several turns. So let's say I have my scout right here and I want to go ahead and move towards this war point over here. That would actually take me the entire turn, and basically it can only move one step at a time. So within this this solar system that we are currently at, I can move anywhere. Obviously this solar system really only has 2 connection points right here, or technically 3 right here, with the asteroid ring as well. But I can go ahead and fly the different ships around. Now let's say I want to go ahead and visit a neighboring you know, solar system right here named Drossel. I can go ahead and do so. However, it's gonna take me a couple more turns. So in this case, it's gonna take me 3. If I want to be heading over towards this one over here, and we don't actually know the title of that yet, it's also gonna take me 3 turns. Now, considering this one is sort of gonna like lock me in place, I'm gonna be traveling towards what is on this screen, the west. And I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that my very first scout heads over towards the war point over here. Now you gotta keep in mind, there's gonna be several others, and apparently this one's called Milban, by the way, and there's also different planets in that system. But obviously you gotta keep in mind, there are gonna be different kinds of, you know, opponents that we can also go ahead and meet. So let's say, you know, it could actually potentially happen that one of my opponents started over here. We do want to try and avoid conflict for the time being. So I got one of my scouts heading that way, and I think since I primarily want to go ahead and also expand over towards this area, I'm also gonna fly my colony ship right in that direction. Now currently we only have one, so we gotta be a little careful about that. Next up, I got another scout that I can use to do a little bit more exploration, and I'm gonna be sending that in the other direction. One thing to note, by the way, is that the frigate did actually fly alongside the scout and the colony ship, so they will basically be able to be just fine. So the frigate is basically the attacking ship that I got for the moment, and then we got the colony ship that we can use to colonize another planet. So that is currently what we are trying to achieve and what we are trying to do, and in the end, we can actually explore this entire universe and figure out what things are gonna be all about and expand anywhere we want to. So just to clarify, there is no free roaming here. There is only moving around the designated paths, which does definitely up the strategy that you have to take, because obviously you can't just go anywhere. I mean, I wouldn't be able to cross from right here to like this one right from the get-go, while I may be able to head towards the red stars over here eventually and maybe set up a bit of a shortcut. For the moment, the option is not available, and you're always gonna have to move alongside these designated paths. Now, because everyone is gonna be flying alongside these lines, you can actually use the war points, these outside points to your solar system right here, to set up military defense paths as well. So let's say you see that your opponents are coming in from this area. I could set up a very solid defense right at this war point to make sure that they can't capture and expand towards my planet. Speaking of which, we currently have one planet available, and that's gonna be our home base, Alpha Ceti number 2. Now, I actually really like the fact that they set up the management of these planets in the way that they did. So currently we got a planet right here that has several structures on it. For example, we got a star base right here that basically will allow us to get more ships out. And we got different kinds of buildings like the capital here as well. And we also have a marine barracks. Now I could go ahead and scrap those. For the moment, we're not going to be busy or like really worrying about that. However, let's go over the different kinds of tabs that we've got available. So in the top left corner, we got the population. population. At the moment, we got a maximum inhabitable cells of 14, of which we currently use 6. And that basically indicates the amount of workers that we got over here that we'll go over in just a little bit. And basically all these different little, tiny spots here will indicate how well this planet is going to be performing, how well it's defended, and, what the morale of the workers is. Basically, you can go ahead and up the amount of taxes that, they will have to pay. Obviously, the morale will go down, but we'll see that a little bit more in depth in just a bit. In the top right corner of the planet, it gives us the information about the planet itself. So this is a medium-sized planet, basically indicating how much I can actually go ahead and expend, on this planet. So on this planet, we don't have too much room to really get like a ton of buildings and a ton of workers going. Then we also have the biome that basically indicates how quickly the population will be growing. We got the minerals that indicates how valuable this world is, the gravity, and that also some worlds got, some specialties. So in this particular case, that's gonna be seagrass, and it gives a little bit of food to boost the colony. Speaking of food, we can decide to actually speed up the process of the next population by simply dragging and dropping different kinds of workers that we've got towards the middle part right here. And as you can see, currently the next population will be available in a couple of turns right here, and the more workers I got on that, the faster it will go ahead and grow. Now there is going to be diminishing returns in that, because obviously if I do decide to put all of my workers, for example, on food, and I could also go ahead and do that just like that, it will mean, first and foremost, that we're not putting any of our workers on research nor on production. But as you can see, these last two guys right here are only actually helping us out by 2, whereas the ones in the front are helping out by 4. So currently we got plus 14 here. In general, depending on what you want to go ahead and achieve, you can specialize the different planets. But I'm going to be starting off with the balanced selection for the moment, just because, well, that's what the game recommends, and honestly, it's the most efficient, in particular when you have a small number of planets. Now, we can go ahead and produce one thing at a time in each of the planets as well. So this is going to be individual to every single planet. So what we can, for example, make is a scout. If we want to make another scout, we can go ahead and produce that right here. Or what we can also do is create another colony ship. Now the colony ship, as you can see, take 20 turns to actually produce, but we'll go ahead and create a destroyer for the time being, just to be super safe, as we are gonna need, more defenses anyway, once the enemies do start attacking us. Now let's say I want to speed up that process. I could go ahead and, for example, move the workers from food all the way over to watch the production, and that way we will get, that ship out a little bit faster. Now I'm just gonna leave it to balanced. I'm just gonna leave it at what the default of the game says, but you can go ahead and decide where you want to be spending your resources. And on top of that, there's also a queue available where you can, for example, also queue up a missile base that will start production right after the destroyer is finished. Now, while we are expanding and exploring, there's another really important aspect that needs to happen, and that is research.
Our engineers await your command, Khan.
So the research management basically gives me several options to choose to research, and those also are indicated by the amount of turns that it takes. So there are some recommended things. However, if you have a look at the full tech tree, you can see how many research there is available. Now, because we started with some space travel and because we started with the Terran, we're gonna have an extra little bit of an advantage here as far as engineering goes, but there are a ton of different kinds of things that you can go ahead and have a look at, and there's countless different options of the tech paths that you can go ahead and take. So obviously, the bigger the universe, the more opponents you have, the bigger the universe, the bigger the worlds are, or not the bigger the worlds are, but the longer the game will take, rather. Obviously, the more important the choices become here, and eventually you might even be able to research everything. Now, I haven't gotten to that point quite yet, where I've got all the things unlocked, but let's say we want to go ahead and focus on, for example, headed towards the genetic engineering here. I can just simply select that, and it will automatically start queuing up all the different kinds of research that is going to be a necessity. Now, one thing to note about these different things, for example, the xenobiotics over here, if I do want to go that path right now, it will unlock different kinds of buildings. One thing I personally did not recognize until a little bit later on into the game is that if you have like a little line in between the different kinds of research, you basically have to make a choice whether or not right now, once I actually finish up the genetic engineering, whether or not I want to have the microbiotics upgrade, which basically, basically changes the population growth. But we can also go ahead and pick the cloning center, and you can only choose one of those. But in the end, All of the races use the same tech tree right here, and all of the races will have to make a decision where they want to be headed. Now, considering I am, already specialized in engineering, I could go ahead and, for example, get some fusion weapons going and just simply click done. So at this point, in the top left corner, we'll also get a bit of a display of the advanced fusion, which is exactly what is being researched right now and what will be done in quite a couple of turns. Now, sometimes you may not quite be sure whether or not you have completed all of the tasks you can do, and if it doesn't say next turn right here in the bottom right corner, it means that you still have something that you need to either get started or a ship to go ahead and move. But since it does say for me right now next turn, I'm gonna go ahead and click that button, and basically right now it's simulated what all of the opponents are doing, and we are in the next turn once again. So you gotta keep in mind, the opponents are also gonna be moving at this time, so I think it is time for us to expand onwards once more. So I'm gonna go ahead and select my scout here. We'll have a quick look, see if we can go ahead and head towards that objective. One thing I can do, since in the previous turn I already queued up the paths that I want the ships to take, is just simply click the move button, which will automatically move all of the ships one step forward. Now, since there's not too much to do in this turn either, I'm just simply gonna once again click next turn. And it looks like something is already happening over here. Now, in this particular case, these are gonna be space pirates, which we did enable in the advanced settings before starting up the game. This is not gonna be one of the opposing races that we'll need to face off against, but these are gonna be like a separate, set of rebels that are trying to also conquer the galaxies. Now, the frigate that we got over here as well should be more than alright to deal with this. As you can see right now, the victory chances are definitely in my favor already, so I don't think we really need to go ahead and deviate our path. However, one thing we can go ahead and do is change the ship's design. So right now, for example, we got the frigate over here, and we can go ahead and customize this, which is absolutely awesome. I haven't actually seen that in very many games whatsoever. So if you click the edit tab right here, I can go ahead and, for example, add a nuclear drive, a nuclear bomb, a laser cannon to it, and I can just go ahead and drag and drop those to it. Now, on top of that, if we want to, we can go ahead and change the model as well as the theme that the ship is using, and we can basically just adjust all of the things that we want to adjust. Later on, obviously, when you're doing more researches, you will be able to find all kinds of new upgrades in this overview right here. The same goes for the destroyer, which is not quite done yet, but this one will also be able to be adjustable, and over time, obviously, you will be able to unlock more and more things. One thing to keep in mind is that every single ship in the game does have a maximum capacity, and you can go ahead and upgrade that as well, but that is the reason why I'm currently not capable of adding any more things to the core systems, the specials, and the weapons. Now, besides the ship design right here in the top right corner, there are also other buttons that are worth checking out. So first and foremost, we got the Empire button right here that will basically give me a full-on overview of all of the colonies that I've got. Now, currently I've only colonized one planet, but obviously if you have a lot of them, you will be able to see all of them right below it. And you can change the focus of the colony right here from this overview page, which is really handy when you get like, well, let's say more than 5 of them. It goes much faster than individually clicking to each and every planet. And on top of that, you can also change the different kinds of production on all of those. One important thing to note right here is that you can go ahead and change the amount of tax that you're asking from other people. One thing though is that if you put it all to like the maximum amount of tax rate, one of your workers or several of your workers are gonna go on strike. So that does mean that if you head back towards the planet, that they are not going to be participating in the research right now anymore. But that may be a decision you want to make. Now, in general, it looks like it's best to make sure that your morale is going to be at least reasonably high while getting the maximum amount of tax return that you can get. Morale is really important, like I said, otherwise they're going to go on strike and all kinds of bad things will happen to you. Next up, we got research, which will just take you back to the tech tree that we've already discussed. Then we got espionage. Now, currently we don't have a spy center, but this is something that you will unlock throughout the game. Ship design we've already gone over. Diplomacy is relatively important too. So there are different ways to obtain victory, and one of those, well, we actually currently disabled that, but one of them oftentimes is to become the supreme commander of the different kinds of races. So instead of murdering each other, that is one of the win conditions too. When you unlock more and more of the races, and when you discover where the other guys are at, you can actually form alliances and basically become friends rather than enemies. And this screen will give you a full overview on that. Then we have the path to victory. Now, as you can see, I did disable the diplomatic victory, but there's still all kinds of different ways we can win. So we can obtain economic victory right here, technological victory, Conquest Victory and Excellence Victory. And I think most people will be starting off with Conquest Victory by just simply crushing the opponents. But obviously there's different kinds of ways to do so. The next step says planets. This one will basically give you an overview of the other planets that are nearby. And then also the different kinds of fleets that are going to be available. So in this case, I can go ahead and just simply select the frigate if I want to from this little screen, and you can see that it's still actually moving around. However, one of my scouts right here apparently isn't moving anymore, and it actually did manage to get its way to the warpoint, so I can move that around right from here as well and discover the new planet. Now, discovery and exploration obviously are really important. And what I can have a look at right here is this new planet. This may be something that I do want to go ahead and expand towards. As you can see, it gives you a brief overview on how valuable the planet is. We've already gone over the different kinds of, benefits you can find here. I probably don't really want to go ahead and expand towards this one yet. But let's say I get my colonizing ship all the way over here. I could take control of this planet. However, for the moment, I am fine with the way things are looking right now. I'm going to be moving my other ships forward and past the next turn. So as you can see, that pirate ship is slowly but surely moving towards us. Very important that we do keep that in mind. Now, my frigate shouldn't have very many issues taking this out. At the very least, I haven't actually lost a single one of those yet at this point in time. But I can go ahead and just simply right-click towards that fight and make sure that I can start attacking. Now, we could actually bypass each other as well. You do have to make sure you select the attack button right here in the bottom left corner. And now there are several ways we can obtain victory. So we can take command, we can auto-resolve, or we can just simply hit done. In this particular case, I'm gonna take command. And I hope this goes well, because otherwise I look like a total noob. Alrighty, so here's the overview screen of the battle. Now this turns into a lot more of a real-time strategy type thing. We can see the different kinds of enemy pirate ships that are standing right over here, and we are currently at the other end of things. Now, one thing we can do is just change the formation. Now, obviously, right now, this is not going to be the most exciting fight. There's really only, one ship, and it's not going to be a massive battle. But we can just go ahead and select the attack button here and click the play. So what will happen is that the ship will start firing as soon as it is in range. I can speed up the speed of this battle just a little bit, and as you can see, it will start firing here. And there's gonna be a bit of back and forth action. They're gonna be circling around each other. As you can see though, the frigate is very powerful. There's not very much micromanagement that I need to do for the moment, but it looks like the enemy team is gonna be defeated right now. Well, as long as we don't miss all the time. And there we go. We do obtain victory. Luckily for me. Now that we have obtained victory, there's a couple of different kinds of ways we can recover from this. Obviously, if you're fighting against another race, things will look out a little bit differently. But it does give us the option to expand towards this, this like area right here. So in this solar system, there are 2 planets available, and we can have a look at both of them. So first and foremost, I'm gonna fly my scout over towards this planet right here called Mulban. This one is alright, it's not terrible. Ideally though, I'd like to have a look at the other ship first as well. So we'll use the colony ship here as well to have a look at this new planet too. Now, this one also actually not the greatest, but just for an example in this video, we do get the special of gold over there. We will go ahead and colonize this new planet called Mulban Prime. So we'll just click the colonize button and we get a fancy little introduction. So this is our new planet. This is the planet that we have just managed to, basically conquer. So we can choose a production on this as well, and I think we can start off with like a marine barracks or whatever we really want. So I can go ahead and build that. We can set this up to be a balanced colony as well. And right now, 2 of these buttons right here in the bottom right corner have appeared that allow me to switch between my main base as well as this new colony. And right now, as you can see, we are slowly but surely conquering the galaxy. Now, one of the cool things about this game, or at the very least one of the things that I think are really awesome so far, is that a lot of the things are gonna be voice acted. I can imagine that after you play this for quite some time that the voices are gonna be a little bit annoying, but I like the fact that everything is voice acted, at least for the most part. And there's actually people like Luke Skywalker from Star Wars, like the actor of that, and like the Joker in the Batman, the animated series, that have actually done the voices for the characters in the game, which in my opinion is really, really cool. Now, one of the cool parts about this game is that you can just go ahead and play for a very long time and get a huge exploration set going. And because you can also go ahead and play against different opponents, and you can play with your friends online, and there's all kinds of different ways to obtain victory, and since you have the crazy amount of like you know, research that you can do, there are some really, really cool things that can happen in this game. Now, personally, I've been playing for quite a couple of hours, and it definitely is good fun. If you enjoy huge exploration type games, I would highly recommend giving it a try, or maybe wait until the actual release of the game. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, it is still in early access, so if you can wait, you probably want to hold off until the game is fully released. Now, one of the things I personally kind of dislike and what I'm a little bit disappointed about is that this massive tech tree that we got over here, while it is massive, it is actually shared between all of the races, which is honestly, I don't know, I don't think that is the coolest thing. For example, you have this like Zerg type race. I don't know the exact name of them right on the top of my head, but they basically are like working together for the Hive, and they're trying to obtain all kinds of different, you know, benefits for the Hive. All of their research is going to be the exact same as like a highly technological race, which really doesn't make a lot of sense. One of the things I personally dislike as well is that there is currently really no proper campaign available in the game, and that's honestly something I was personally a little bit surprised about. Generally speaking, you know, the very first thing you do play in these type of games is the campaign, and currently there's just simply nothing available of that. So you really gotta be, you know, enjoying the custom game part. Because there's really no story to play. Now, they do a pretty reasonable job as far as like telling the story through the different kinds of races and the different kinds of interactions between races, but it's still a little bit disappointing that there's not like a campaign to follow. Other than that, this game does look pretty promising, and I hope I have informed you about all the things that you wanted to know about Master of Orion. If you have any questions though, or any things that I didn't quite cover yet, let me know down below the like button in the comment section of the video, and I'll keep an eye out on it and try my very best to answer anything that you may have. And other than that, I want to thank you guys all for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I'll see you in the next one.